Hey everyone, just a quick introduction for this episode since this is not my original recording. For anybody who follows me on social media, you'll probably know that I participated in a live stream that took place during the presidential inauguration as a way to talk about books that me and my co-hosts were excited about upcoming in 2025. It was a distraction from the horror of what's going on politically in the United States, and what better way to distract ourselves from the things that are bothering us than by celebrating the things that we are excited about and giving other people something to be excited about as well. So Sadie Hartmann originally had the idea to take some time out of our day on Inauguration Day to take what would be maybe a negative experience and turn it into a time where we have a very positive experience. And it turned out to be an excellent stream. There was a lot of great camaraderie. The live stream had a lot of people commenting and talking about their excitement. Some of the authors that we were talking about also joined the live stream and were contributing to comments as well. So it was just a very positive, very happy. Honestly, it's exactly what I was hoping would happen. And so my goal was, for anybody who could not participate in the live stream or watch it as it happened, I wanted to put this out as a podcast episode for my audience so that you can get a list of everything we talked about in the episode. So in addition to hearing us talking about them, either in the audio format, if you're listening audio only, or video if you're looking on YouTube, I'm also going to put a list of every book that we mentioned, and so title and author, on the post for this episode on my Substack. So if you go to thearcparty.com, www.thearcparty.com, you can find the post there, and it'll have a list of every single name of every book and author who wrote the book. This was a great experience for me, and I'm hoping that we do stuff like this in the future. Not necessarily as a coping mechanism, but just because, hey, let's get a bunch of people together who are enthusiastic about something and talk about horror books. Let's boost the signal. Let's get the word out about some of these awesome books that are coming up. I learned a lot. There's a lot of books that I had not heard about until we did this stream. And so even for people who are in the know and look at the resources and everything, it's always great to have somebody say, hey, guys, you need to check this out. So I hope you find this useful. Hopefully we can do some more of this in the future. And if you like what we're doing, support me by subscribing, liking my posts, commenting, liking on the podcast platforms, commenting on YouTube. I try my best to interact with YouTube as much as possible. And support the authors that we talk about by pre-ordering their books and leaving them reviews as well. Thank you so much for listening. And again, I hope you enjoy this. It was a very great experience for me, and I hope you find value in it as well.
Well, hello, everyone. Happy Monday from your favorite horror book readers and enthusiasts, and we are thrilled that you've chosen to join us. I'm Greg Greene, a fearfic fan, Greg Greene, and we're going to have a little time to just talk about the books we are most excited about coming up in 2025. This is your alternative to the Beltway Clown Show that's currently going on, and we are let's start by just wishing everyone a happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day. This is a great day to celebrate. You know, of course, and I think it's promoted in a lot of ways as being Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service. And so, this is a great, especially if you got the day off like I do from your job. You think about how can you get involved in your local community? How can you give to your local community? I'm a big fan of the Red Cross. I've been given blood and platelets at the Red Cross for 30 plus years. Guys, I've given 93 gallons of blood over my lifetime. I'm going for 100. I'm going for 100 gallons. So giving blood or platelets is a great, by the way, if you give platelets, you can, and your Red Cross, your local Red Cross has like Netflix on little screens and stuff. You can watch horror movies while you give blood. I've been doing it for years and there's nothing else like it. But think about how you can get involved in your local community. I think giving to your local community is a great way to, resist in a positive and constructive fashion. But anyway, we just wanted to Sadie had an idea to give us something fun as an alternative to the inauguration. And this is it, the inauguration, where we're going to talk about our favorite, most anticipated horror books of 2025. I see that some of the people who wrote the books we're excited about are actually watching right now. That's hello, Alma Katsu, Patrick Barb. This is not at all intimidating to talk about your book. So we're just thrilled to have everyone online. Please comment in the YouTube live comments and tell us what you're most excited about. If you have a book coming out in 2025, tell everyone about it. Horror, though, it's got to be dark and disturbing, because that is the vibe of 2025. So let's just go around the room real quick, introduce ourselves. Again, I'm Greg Greene. You can find me at iGregGreene around everywhere, pretty much everywhere on socials. I live in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm a huge fan of Stephen Graham Jones and Laird Barron, Kelly Link, and Nathan Ballingrud, Philip Fracassi, many others. Let's see. I have my fun fact is I have 22-year-old triplets. That is my fun fact. 2 boys and a girl. Yeah. That is my fun fact. I have no hair left. I have a smooth face. So yeah, that's it. And like I said, I like giving blood and giving platelets at the Red Cross. That's my community thing. So Sadie, tell us about yourself. Give us a little fun fact.
Hi, I am Sadie Hartmann, Mother Horror. I am the co-owner of the horror subscription company Nightworms, which is hosting our event today. So yay to Nightworms. They have subscriptions available right now. We are pre-ordering for February. You can see spoilers for the February package on our Instagram. Instagram is our main platform if you want to check us out there. I am also the author of the Bram Stoker award-winning book, 101 Horror Books to Read Before You're Murdered. Time is running out, so you better read all those books. My next book is coming in August, and it is called Feral and Hysterical, Mother Horror's Ultimate Guide to Reading Dark and Disturbing Fiction by Women. And I just did a reveal of the cover of that on my Instagram and other social media. A fun fact about me is that I am 6 feet tall.
Oh my goodness.
I show up at events and everyone's like, why are you so tall?
and if folks, if you haven't subscribed to Nightworms before, gotten one of those packages, these are nice packages that come with just some fun goodies, like maybe a themed bag of coffee grounds, or and stickers and things like that. It's really something to look into for sure. Thank you, Sadie, and Sadie, thanks for arranging this. This is great fun to hang out with fellow horror fans.
Yes.
Haley, introduce yourself.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Haley. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm probably best known on the internet as @Spoonie Reads, where I post a lot of queer and disabled representation in literature. By day, I run an LGBT resource center for college students. So just, again, really emphasizing that idea of community and care. I started reading horror way too young of an age, and I'll give a couple of fun facts. I'm 4'9", so I'm like unbelievably short right now. I am a little bit of what we would call hyper organized. I have my map of all of the books that I have on my ARC shelf behind me that is only getting longer because I've been emailing publishers over the weekend to request some of the ones that y'all put on your list. And I wrote my graduate thesis about Rosemary's Baby. So horror is very, very near and dear to my heart, as are all of you. I'm very excited to be here.
Thank you, Haley. That is so cool. All right, Peg. Hello, Peg.
Hi, everybody. I'm Marguerite, or some of you know me as Peg Turley. So on Instagram, I'm Peg T, and everything else on Marguerite Turl 2. I work at Lahaska Bookshop, which is part of the Doylestown Bookshop in Doylestown, PA. And I've been there for 4 years now, and I love my job, and I love selling the horror, and I love reading the horror, and I can never get enough. And that's our website. Anyway, and you can, anything we're pre-ordering, you can get through there too. So I'm trying to think of a fun fact. Oh, I do.
Your photography is fun.
So I am a nature photographer. Also, I did go to photography school and didn't really work out, but I do love to do stuff on the side. So I like to take my birdies and my bug pictures, and yeah, that's my thing. And can I make a little announcement too?
Please.
Yeah. So we had Dark Ink last year, and I think everybody kind of heard about it. It was bigger than we were expecting. Well, this year it's going to be even bigger and better. And the date is August 16th. So, get yourselves ready. Make sure you take the day off. It's Saturday. So, lots of stuff going on that day. I just wanted to let you guys know that too.
Sounds good. Grateful to Doylestown Books for letting you hang out with us today. When I know you're working, and got a couple hours off for it. So
we for a couple hours, yes.
Tiffany, hi.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tiffany Gonzalez, on Instagram known as Tiffany con Libros. I am the event and marketing coordinator at Books Are Magic, a bookshop in Brooklyn that is owned by Emma Straub, who's the daughter of Peter Straub. So yeah, that's where I'm from. Fun fact is I was a teacher before this for like 4 years. And then I was like, well, what am I going to do next? And of course, what other than working at a bookshop, getting to like meet and just like read all of the things. I love obviously horror, and I just am so excited to be here.
So good to have you here. Thank you. All right. And finally, Robb.
Hey, everyone. I'm Robb. I am the host of a podcast called The Arc Party.
How many episodes have you guys done? I mean, you've been doing this for years.
Well, okay, so I'll clarify that. So I've only got about 60 episodes of the Arc Party that are out right now. But I did a podcast before called Booked, where I did 540 episodes over 10 years. So I've probably hosted about 700 episodes of podcasts about books over the years. I've been doing this since 2011. I've got like some of the oldest This Is Horror awards on my wall over here. Like this is 2012, before like nobody knew what a podcast was. So I've been doing book podcasting that long. And I kind of became a horror guy by accident, like it just over the years, getting to know people and starting to read more and more and more. So I don't have a cool horror origin story other than it just, I realized it's the best. And so that's cool. The thing. And I will just plug really quick with my podcast. Every 6 months, I do a horror preview episode with librarian Becky Spratford and Emily Hughes of This Book Horror for Weenies, but also who does that every year. She does a list of every horror book coming out. So every 6 months, I do basically this. So That's me.
Awesome. Thank you, Robb. So the format of this of our event is we've each picked 10 books that are our like top 10 most anticipated horror fiction books of the year of 2025. A couple of them have probably already come out, but it's pretty much looking forward to the rest of the year. We're going to just go round robin and talk about our lists and take a couple minutes to introduce each book. If we've got a physical ARC in hand, we're going to hold it up. Otherwise, I've got book cover art that we'll display on screen as well. Publishers, send us your physical ARCs because we love having these books in our hands. We love it, love it, love it. And we show it off and we talk about it. So support your local book influencer. Why don't we go ahead and start with Sadie. Sadie, what's top of your list? Most anticipated horror read of 2025.
Okay, so this comes out in February. It is called Victorian Psycho by Virginia Fietto. It is already being adapted into a movie, and it's going to be starring some delicious actresses who have already been buzzed about because one of the actresses was in help me, The Substance. And
Margaret Qualley?
Yes.
Margaret Qualley, yeah.
If you remember her also from she was in that movie with Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I think, right?
Yeah. That's when I first saw her.
She's dynamite in The Substance.
Yeah. So this is being adapted into a movie. I first wanted it and requested it eons ago because it had the nanny trope in it, which is my favorite. I love a governess. I love a nanny. This particular book, it says, a gruesome and gleeful new novel that probes the psyche of a bloodthirsty governess And this chilling story of Winifred Naughty, spelled Notty, but naughty, hello, takes place on Christmas. So I love that we get a Christmas time Victorian slasher romp that we can read and reread every holiday. It's unapologetically brutal. So don't read it if like satirical violence is hard for you. Like, we're killing a lot of things. Okay. We're killing everything from, I'm not even going to say because I don't want to spoil, but like she's a nanny. So she's in a family's house. So just expect the worst. But also, this was one of the most fun times I ever had reading a book. It's extremely thin, so I binged it in a day, of course.
Nice. It kind of gives me a little of the turning of the screw vibes there, which is, of course, one of the classics of literature. Awesome.
Right.
So excited. So several other, I think, people have copies of that, or yes. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
I am a huge fan of this one because, again, not only everything that Sadie just said, but I like to see women spinning off of the American Psycho riff. Maeve Fly was a huge hit a couple years ago. And so all of these things, fantastic.
Nice. Oh, so exciting. Okay. Next up, Tiffany, what do you have at the top of your list?
Well, first I want to say I also loved Victorian Psycho. I started reading it like in the middle of the night and I just couldn't stop laughing. Every single page. There's a point where it's like, oh, this is when we first meet. Like, I'm winking at you, like her breaking like the fourth wall. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is so great. So everyone should go read Victorian Psycho as soon as it's incredible. My first one that I'm really excited about that I actually read over the weekend is The Lamb by Lucy Rose. I ate this up, and I do, pun intended. It's a folktale, a horror story, a love story, an enchantment. There are so many layers to it. I felt like I was Margot. The perspective is told from this young 11-year-old Margot. And she is living with her mother in like the middle of the woods, and cannibalism is what's happening. It's not a spoiler. It is in the description. But the insatiable hunger is just, it's delicious, guys. Like, it is the descriptions of fingers and the way that they cook everything. It is just delectable. And yes, I'm using every descriptive word I can for food because it is so embedded in this book. I felt like I could taste, see, hear everything that Margot and her mother and Eden were going through. It's a gothic, like, coming of age tale. Ever since Victorian Psycho, I've been in such a gothic mood. And so I read Victorian Psycho, then I read Carmilla, then I read this, and I'm just like really loving living in these worlds. But yeah, this is absolutely incredible. It comes out January 30th. And this is a voice that everyone needs to have on their radar because I've read nothing like this. And if you love folktales, if you love enchantments, if you love Silence of the Lambs, cannibalism, like, this is for you.
Nice.
I love that.
Big year for cannibalism.
Hey, Robb. Yeah, I saw Alma Katsu in the comments say cannibalism. It's like, she wrote The Hunger. She knows a thing or two about cannibalism. So, yeah. Hey, Robb, what's on the top of your list?
All right, this one already came out, and it's not technically horror, but it is one of the best books I've ever read, so I'm going for it. This book is called The Contortionist Handbook. It originally released in 2002. It's being reissued this year by Datura. Craig Clevenger's the author. Here's the quick pitch on it. Master forger with a rough past experiences these unbearable headaches every like 6 months or so, and there's no way that he can stop them from happening. So he just tries to take drugs, more and more drugs, to try and make it bearable, but he inevitably will usually end up overdosing and finding himself in the hospital and terrified that they're going to commit him either as being suicidal or having some sort of mental illness. And so but like nobody can explain these headaches, so he's kind of trapped, and so he's using his like master forger abilities to create identities. So he'll go to the hospital, get out, start a new identity, and he's going through this just to kind of like stay away from this like kind of entrapment of being committed for something that he's really not, but like really there's themes of feeling kind of unconnected from the world, people not understanding who you are, and like kind of a growing up and everything, but it's some of the most proficient writing I've ever read. It's a very compelling story, and Clevenger just has a way of making you feel like you're that person and feel the things they're feeling, and it is just such a great book. So I'm always going to rave about it. Any chance I get a chance, like where someone lets me talk, I'm talking about it. So it came out. It's already available. Contortionist Handbook by Clevenger.
Looking forward to it.
It's so good. Anybody who reads this, you're going to just come back and you're going to thank me. It's that good.
I will. I'll come thank you.
So exciting. Peg, what's at the top of your list?
So I'm really excited about this Rose of Jericho by Alex Greene. This is kind of the follow-up to one of my faves from 2 years ago, Red Rabbit. Best horror, like one of the best horror westerns ever. It's just so good. And I was obsessed with Rabbit and Sadie Grace in this book, and we catch up with them again, but this time it's in Massachusetts. I have not read it yet, but I'm ecstatic because this is kind of like witchy, and you've got all the witchies, and then during in Massachusetts, and it's in 1800s. It's during like Salem witch trials, so it's just really fun. It's like some more history stuff, I think, and I just loved the first one, so I'm really, really, really looking forward to this one. So I know this one's going to be great.
I love that you held up the paperback version of Red Rabbit that matches the second one. So, I
sent you both of them. I was very excited. I think you got the same one too, Tiffany.
Yeah, I just love when books match. So
I know it looks very pretty.
Nobody's books match quite like Adam Neville's. I think is it Samuel Araya who maybe does color. Oh my gosh, I haven't read any of them. I'm just terrified of them because of those covers. But I'm gonna meet him at StokerCon this year, and I'm gonna buy all of his books and get him to sign all of them. So yeah, super cool. Haley, what's at the top of your list?
All right, so first, what I'm loving about this, as I'm seeing a bunch of people saying that they're taking notes, is that we're going through all of these in order of release for 2025. And so, of course, most of the ones coming out in the first half of the year, we do have copies of. But it's also good to start setting aside some money for those pre-orders. Here's one that is actually coming out very, very soon. It's the first on my list. It is Beta Vulgaris by Margie Sarsfield. And it comes out in about 3 weeks on February 11th. This, by the way, I would like to say, I am an easy sell. I requested this because of the cover. And you know what? I was right. It was a good pick. So this is a very sort of stream of consciousness written in first person story of this couple, Tom and Elise, who are struggling to pay rent in Brooklyn because of course it's Brooklyn. And so they decide to take up a summer job to Minnesota to participate in a sugar beet harvest. And as you can assume, things start to go wrong. Tom starts feeling a connection to one of the coworkers. Elise starts falling back into the traps of her disordered eating and dissociation. And then she starts feeling a connection to the beets. And the line that got me was, then the pile of sugar beets start calling to her. And you know what? I am at the point in my life where if a pile of sugar beets started calling to me, I would probably listen too. So I am thrilled by this. And I cannot wait to see people loving this one just as much as I do.
I love that. You sold it.
Okay, I'm going to start thinking of it as Sugar Beet Harvest Massacre.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. No, I have never heard a log line quite like that.
Yeah,
that's pretty amazing. Okay, Greg, what's at the top of your list? Well, hey, I'm glad you asked. Thank you. So at the top of my list is I have the original. This is a reissue, but I don't have the print copy of the ARC yet. But Stephen Graham Jones's The Least of My Scars is being reissued. Actually, Open Road Media is reissuing a bunch of their work right now, a bunch of his work right now. I'll mention another one shortly, but The Least of My Scars is notable because it is the most disturbing book I have ever read. It's completely sick. Stephen Graham Jones himself has said he lost about 25 pounds while he wrote this. It sickened him so much while he wrote it that he couldn't eat. And as Brian Evanson describes it, this book shows how a serial killer's paradise and a serial killer's hell are really the same place. Yes, it is the first person internal monologue of a serial killer who is set up in an apartment by a crime boss and is fed victims. It is absolutely sick and fascinating. How did this man, our good friend Stephen Graham Jones, a very gentlemanly fellow, get into the mind of serial killer? I don't know. Please be in a good place before you start this book. And also, for an extra treat, I love audiobooks. Alan Ross narrates the audiobook, and it is extra sick. If you like audiobooks, it's a really good way to consume it, but be warned, it is completely disturbing and fascinating, and for some reason I think this character, William Colton Hughes, the serial killer, is very meaningful to Stephen. I think it's just fascinating. I don't know of another book quite like it.
It's also hilarious.
Yeah.
I don't know why he laughed so much, but it was like really disturbing how funny it was.
Yes, that would be an interesting one for a film adaptation. Yeah. I think it could be done because we've got stuff like Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, and whatever. But it's really fascinating.
Yeah.
All right. Well, why don't we jump back to Sadie? What's next on your list?
I didn't have the order in front of me. Do you know what's next on my list?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, it is. You've got The Crimson Road.
Crimson Road, yes.
By A.G. Slatter.
The Crimson Road. If you're not familiar with A.G. Slatter, which I wasn't until very recently, she has 4 novels in what she calls the Sourdough universe. And the Sourdough universe includes The Murmuring Bones, which was her first book, The Path of Thorns, which is my favorite book, and The Briar Book of the Dead, which is like equally a favorite book. This particular book is a tale of vampires, assassins, ancient witches, and broken promises. It follows a main character who was literally trained as a child to be a weapon for her father. She's sick and fucking tired of being a weapon for her father. She wants to go and live her own life, but she actually gets some weird insight from a local priest who tells her, but they're called god dogs and godhounds in this universe, tells her that she is basically a chosen one that has to stop this influx of leech lords, who is a society of vampires who are infiltrating the kingdom, essentially. And she really doesn't want to. She goes on an epic quest. She has a child as a sidekick who is fascinatingly funny. I cannot tell you how Angela Slatter's storytelling voice reminds me of, I can't even like put it into words. She's funny and romantic and silly and like fairy tale qualities with a lot of like folklore embedded in it, with kelpies and ghosts. And her character from The Path of Thorns, Asher Todd, is my new favorite character, a female protagonist who's capable, who puts up with nothing. And it's just all of the women in all of her books just slay so hard. They sleep with who they want. They cast spells on who they want. They live their own lives. Nobody tells them what the fuck to do, but yet they're so brave and courageous and look out for everyone. I cannot recommend the Sourdough universe enough. Start with The Murmuring Bones is the first, then The Path of Thorns, then Briar Book of the Dead, then this one, and then in this book are so many Easter eggs and like characters from other stories in here. You're standalone. You can start anywhere, but that's the order I would go in.
Did you say the Leech Lords?
Leech Lords.
The Leech Lords, because I thought we weren't talking about the incoming administration on this call. Boom, boom. Right. Okay.
And they're not orange. Let's just put it that way.
Okay. All right. That sells it. Thank you. Awesome. Oh, that's exciting. Thank you. Tiffany, what's next for you?
First, Sadie, I need to read those books. Oh my God.
You do.
Holy moly, those sound incredible. And definitely the energy we all need this year. Next for me is When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy.
Oh, you got it.
I know. I ended up carrying it in this morning to work because I started it on my train ride over. This comes out April 22nd from Torn Nightfire. And we should be doing this event at Books Are Magic. Pretty sure we are going to do it. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, this is a wolf. Another, yeah, Sadie.
Oh my God, almost everyone's got this.
I love it. I love it. I started. Yes, Rob. Guys, I started reading it this morning, and I'm already so locked in. I feel like the one thing with
I'm the only one who does not have an arc book.
it's a nap party.
Wow. Okay, hold on. I'm going to grab a screenshot real quick. This is just show your books. Everyone is a big Nat Cassidy fan. Thank you. Okay, that's awesome.
I started reading this on my train ride into work this morning, and Nat's storytelling for me is just like so all-consuming because he does this thing where his characters, like in Mary, his first book, where the main protagonist usually has this like inner voice. And I'm seeing that with this as well. And I love it because I feel like we've all been there where we have these intrusive thoughts that we try to block out. And it just makes his characters so real for me. So this one, our quick synopsis is one night, Jess, a struggling actress, finds a 5-year-old runaway hiding in the bushes outside her apartment. After a violent, bloody encounter with the boy's father, she and the boy find themselves running for their lives. As they attempt to evade the boy's increasingly desperate father, horrifying incidents of butchery follow them. At first, Jess thinks she understands what they're up against, but she's about to learn there's more than to these surreal and grisly events than she could have ever imagined, and that when the wolf finally comes home, none will be spared. Now, I love a werewolf tale. We've seen it, from so many people, but I love all the different variations that there are, and this already feels so incredibly different from anything that I've read. The beginning chapter feels fairy tale-esque in the way that it's told, and so I like that he's kind of weaving in modern, like, day society, but I can tell that there's like some fairy tale woven stuff in it already, just from that like opening scene. But yeah, I'm really stoked for this. This is definitely one of my most like anticipated reads of the year, and I can't wait to finish it. But this should be
so good.
The buzz I've heard for this is already like gut wrenching.
I think it's his best yet, honestly. I was bawling my eyes out when I finished that book. I'm just letting you know.
Oh, I'm so excited. and
so good.
I feel like Nat's also just like with like all his forwards and afterwards, those alone make me emotional. So like
I'm telling you, this one is like next level. Wow, it's so good. And it just brought back memories of my own dad. So it was like, it was this whole thing for me. And it was just a beautiful book.
Yeah. And I will say there is like a big trigger warning in the beginning for quite a few things.
Yeah. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, it says, I'll say it here. This book contains graphic depictions and or discussions of murder or dismemberment, needle trauma, bloodborne diseases, spiders, insects, suicidal ideations, abuse, grief, alcoholism, parent death, child trauma, child endangerment, and a whole lot more. So that is right in the beginning for folks, but I wanted to say it here as well. But yeah, when the wolf comes home.
I didn't hear tryptophobia on that list, so I think I'm okay. But if you find any issues with small holes in people's faces or whatever, you gotta let me know. I can't deal with it.
And in the comments, Taylor, yes, the insects. Oh my God! If anybody's also read Rest Stop by him.
Oh God,
insect stuff.
Oh my gosh, that is hysterical. Next up, Rob, what's up? What are you thinking about next on your list?
So the next one, and you guys can probably chime in with this one a little bit because this is someone I haven't read before, but it's The Poorly Made and Other Things by Sam Reveline. And so this is one of those things where when Edenville came out, I had it nearby. When Edenville came out, I missed it. I wasn't able to kind of work it into my reading list. But I had heard everybody raving about it, and I'd heard Sam talking about it on podcasts, and I was like, oh, man, I really missed one here. So when I heard this was coming out, immediately I was like, okay, this is my thing. I'm jumping in on this. And then I did my horror preview episode, and Becky Spratford talked about The Poorly Made and Other Things and raved about it. And she said it went from like her liking Sam's stuff to I have to read everything this guy ever writes. And so the thing that I like about it is that it's a short story collection that takes place in Renfield County, which is where Edenville takes place. And so from what first of all, I just want to get more into short story collections because I've been neglecting those lately. But from what I understand, so like, you know, this adds dimensions to what you read in Edenville, and kind of helps you appreciate the story on a different level. So I was a little too late to catch the bus on Edenville, but with what everybody's saying about that book plus how this book ties into it, there's no way I'm not reading this. It's one of the things I'm most excited about.
Yeah, that's cool to see Todd Kiesling pumping it up too. Todd, would you say that you have a better experience with The Poorly Made and Other Things if you've read Edenville? We'll see if he pops in.
Yeah. Has anybody read The Poorly Made or Edenville?
No.
I read Edenville and loved it.
Yeah.
I've heard really amazing things. It's definitely on my list for this year.
Same.
Read it.
Becky even said that she wishes that the publisher would have let the short story collection come out before Edenville because of like how fucking great it is. But they just, she loved all of it. Her appreciation for the overall storytelling was blown up because of that book.
Awesome.
Very good. I'm thrilled that we have some expert voices in chat right now, giving us some guidance on the content for these books. And you talk about experts. I mean, I see, Alma, Todd Kiesling, and Patrick Barb's on there. I mean, it's great to have some of our author friends in here as well.
And Christine Harold she's the host of that author weekend or author readers weekend or reader weekend.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
So she puts together a whole weekend for readers, and then authors come and entertain them.
Nice. Oh, very good. Hi, Christine. Great to have you here.
Very cool.
Awesome.
Very exciting.
And you know, we're just getting started. If you have friends for our viewers, or you got some friends who you think would enjoy this conversation, share the YouTube link to your friends. Post about it. We'll be going for a little while, giving a balm to a difficult day. So happy to have everyone here with us. Peg, you're up next, and I believe, if I had the order correct, that you are going to be talking about a book I'm also quite excited about because I love this author. What's up for you next?
I know. Okay, so I chose The Third Rule of Time Travel by Philip Fracassi, who I love his writing. And so this book is about there's 3 rules with time travel. Rule 1, travel can only occur to a point within your lifetime. You can only travel for 90 seconds, and then you can only observe, and you can't break the rules. But apparently rules will be broken. But apparently this woman creates a time machine that you can time travel through your consciousness wise. I don't know what the word. Sorry. And I just think that sounds fascinating. And I'm not always a huge sci-fi fan, but if Philip's writing it, I will read it. And so I'm just super excited about this one because I keep hearing really good things about it also. And like I said, if this man writes it, it's going to be good. I know. And that just sounds fascinating to me. I always love time travel stuff. And especially if you're going to end up messing things up, if you do stuff, or if you try not to do stuff, so it's, I think it sounds really awesome and I can't wait for it. And that comes out, I think, in March also. Yeah, March 18th with Orbit. So yeah, I'm really excited about that one.
It doesn't matter what genre Philip takes on. He's going to bring so much heart to it, and he's going to break your heart at some point in his novels.
Always.
Nothing showed that more than A Child Alone with Strangers.
Right.
It's just so heartbreaking. But yeah, he's a dynamite author.
Also, if you're not following Nina James, Spooky Librarian, on Instagram, you need to be. And if Nina is reading it and says it's good, and
it's good.
Marguerite says it's good, and it's Philip Fracassi, those are 3 good reasons to get on this book.
Absolutely. Epiphany Farrell here. Yes, I've been thinking about how do I catch up with my TBR shelf is called now The Mountain of Madness. It is so big. I don't know how. I'm hoping I can live to 200 or retire early. Yes, and so next up we have Haley. What's your next choice?
All right, so the second choice on my list comes out on April 1st, but it is not an April Fool's joke. It is The Coven Tendency by Zoe Hanamakuta. I am a huge fan of YA horror, especially YA horror authors who are really starting to push the boundaries of what it means to be a young adult novel, to be a young adult horror novel in general. I first fell in love with Zoe's writing with this beautiful book, Off With Their Heads, which is a sapphic Korean retelling of Alice in Wonderland that is lovers to enemies. Enemies to lovers is my favorite trope. This does it in reverse, which is incredible. But the Coven Tendency is the story of young witches. You can see here on the cover, we have a girl staring into a mirror. There's a hand coming out of her neck. I saw that image and I said, yeah, I need to read whatever this is. And so it's a bunch of young witches at this museum where they're learning necromancy and all of these different things. And our main character, Vanity, which by the way is a great name for a teenage witch, she starts to experience some antisocial feelings, some bloodlust, obsession with murder, things like that. And her twin sister, named Arrogance, just sort of enters the world and things go awry. I'm obsessed with things that give a really good sort of a combination of horror and fantasy, because I think a lot of fantasies are horrific and I like seeing that come through in fiction. And I love seeing horror be a little bit more approachable and designed for teens, for young readers. Because as I said, I started reading horror way too early in life. And I like that there are things that are not only designed for young readers, but are incredibly approachable and enjoyable for adult audiences as well. Also wanted to give a quick plug to something Nino said about reading the Fracassi on NetGalley. If you are interested in becoming an early reader for books, and you can read ebooks or audiobooks, I highly recommend joining NetGalley. You don't have to be a book influencer to be a book reviewer. And it gives you a great chance to read books early, read books for free, decide which authors you want to support and support financially when their books come out. So highly recommend joining NetGalley. It's a great way to get started in a bunch of early reads for a whole bunch of different genres.
Love it.
Love it.
Love that.
You know, along those lines, before we're done with this live stream, I'd love to hear from each of you as influencers. Like Haley just said, like what's like a great way to support authors who you love? What's a good practical way to do that? Because there's nothing, to me, it's just been so much fun to find some specific authors whose work really resonates with me and just talk about them on socials or do something to help proliferate their work and share that enjoyment and that joy with fellow readers and do something to really help those authors out. Because we're talking about, especially when you talk about genre fiction, not everyone's going to be Stephen King. In fact, no one is Stephen King except Stephen King. No one has that level of success, but we can do things to help these authors we love, reach more readers. So I'd love to hear a good pro tip from everyone at some point. Okay, so my next book, I'm sorry, did anyone want to say anything else about Haley's recommendation?
No, just read more YA horror. I mean,
Yes.
that's
YA is having a moment.
Yeah, I know Paul Tremblay has a middle grade book coming up called Another, coming up a little bit later this year as well. So let me see. For me, my next book is Stephen Graham Jones's The Ones Who Got Away. This is a reissue from Open Road Media, one of the most important horror collections out there. It originally was actually titled The Ones That Got Away. It now has it's being reissued under its preferred author title, The Ones Who Got Away. These are stories originally published in from 2005 to 2009. It has some of Stephen's all-time greatest hits, some stories that his readers will be familiar with, like The Sons of Billy Clay, So Perfect, Lonigan's Luck, The Horrifying Teeth, which actually was featured in Ellen Datlow's Fears anthology last year. Raphael, which is a predecessor to the Indian Lake trilogy's Lake Witch, actually. And then it also contains the story Father, Son, Holy Rabbit, which is in my top 10 all-time great horror short stories. It shows that love is a source of wonder and beauty and horror at the same time.
Yes.
That story alone is worth the cost of the book. It is. I get chills thinking about that story. Yep. Especially as a dad. It is incredible. This is this book is coming out March 4, along with The Least of My Scars. part of a wave of reissues coming from Open Road Media of Stephen Graham Jones's work. I have to say, I love this cover. I love that they updated it, the title, to Stephen's preferred title.
Could I just say that the cover reminds me, for all of you fantasy fans, of Labyrinth when she's falling down into the well and those hands are like grabbing her. Yeah.
Puppet hands. Yes. Yes.
I love that cover. It's great.
So creepy. All right. It's a great. I've got 3 other Stephen Graham Jones books on my top 10 list. It's a great year to be a Stephen Graham Jones reader. All right, Sadie, back to you.
And is it Blood on Her Tongue or?
The Library at Hellebore. Hellebore or Hellebore?
Yeah, Hellebore. Yeah. Okay. So The Library at Hellebore by Cassandra Khaw is a deeply disturbing dark academia novel. And I know that I already have you when I say that it's dark academia. This is the ultimate in disturbing academia. The students are kidnapped and forced to enroll. On graduation day, the faculty go on a murderous rampage and feast on the class. Like you heard me correctly, they actually eat the class that's graduating. A few students manage to escape and lock themselves into the library, where they have to make a human sacrifice every night, or else the faculty will break down the door and kill everyone. And so this sounds completely wild to me. It sounds a little bit like Battle Royale mixed with like the themes of classmates binding together in the faculty movie. You know, remember that movie where they have to like come together to survive? It sounds so bananas. And Cassandra Khaw is one of my favorite authors. They did The Salt Grows Heavy, which was kind of a combination of a million things. It was mermaid, it was, plague, it was a small weird town with a cult, it was weird fairy tale. And so I will pretty much read anything that Cassandra puts out. I love the cover. I love that we are getting a lot of dark academia and gothic vibes this year. It's totally a trend, along with witches. I think witches and gothic and dark academia are like kind of the trends we're seeing this year. So I'm really excited to read this.
Cassandra's fantastic.
Yeah.
I got that like last month, I guess.
With
nice.
Nightfire. Yeah.
I'm very excited.
I love that. I don't think it's on NetGalley or Edelweiss yet.
It is. It's on NetGalley.
I know she had messaged me and she's like, "Do you want?" I was like, "Yes, of course I want."
Yes.
I love the yellow, like very early advanced arcs that Tor Nightfire sends out. I think the proudest moment in my book influencing career was getting one of Brainworms by Alison Rumfitt. I cherish that thing, also because the actual cover really grosses me out. I have bugs. But no, it love a good early read, and that one is definitely going on my list.
I'm done. I think that's going to be my next book when I'm done with the one I'm reading right now.
Super. Well, Tiffany, you're up next.
Awesome. My next one is going to be The Haunting of Room 904 by Erica T. Worth, author of White Horse. Yes. I am so excited. It's pitched as an investigative paranormal thriller, where Olivia, the protagonist, has the gift to speak to the dead. However, she did not have this gift prior to like her sister passing. So now she does. She's like the most in-demand paranormal investigator. And every few years, for some reason, a girl is found dead in room 904. No matter where they were prior, this room just is cursed. I am really, really excited for this one. I feel like I love like investigative horror, which like I feel like the first person that comes to my mind that like really does that is like J.H. Market. But like I love the hunt or like, just trying to figure out alongside the protagonist like what's happening. I love to think that I'm like a little amateur sleuth, but I love when they can really shock you at the end and you're like, oh, that was so beautifully woven. I didn't realize that was happening. But yeah, and something with Erica, what I love is that she's always discussing like Native American identity and the issues like surrounding that. And for me, like I love any Indigenous horror. Like there's just so much lore that with attached to everything. It's so rich, but also a lot of information that needs to be said. And so if you haven't read anything by Erica, she's written The White Horse prior. And if you are in Brooklyn, I do think we're also going to do the event for this one. It comes out in March 18th. And so we would be doing the event around that time. So yeah.
Super cool. Thank you.
Wow, that sounds great.
Robb, any other comments on Erica's book? Okay. Robb, I think you're up next.
Oh, I'm up next. All right.
Yes.
So this was going to be quick because my next one, Greg just talked about, right? So Lisa My Scars by Stephen Graham Jones. Echoing everything that Greg said, I will just say that like I read this when it originally came out. And I think actually I have a funny memory. I was talking to Sadie about something at some point, and you had just said I had read the most disturbing book by Stephen Graham Jones. And I was like, oh, so you read Lisa My Scars.
Yeah, and I actually told Steven that I read it too. I was like, I found a weird book of yours on Amazon, on Kindle Unlimited. And he's all, was it the least of my scars? And I said, yeah. And he's like, I'm sorry you found that one.
That's the thing. It's like, it's a book that will mess you up so much. But there, like Greg was saying earlier, there's something about it that has some, like, it's endearing in a way where, like, you care about this fucked up, brutal situation. And so, like, he, even in, like, the most bleak, desolate areas, Stephen still shows you heart. And I don't understand it. But, like, one of the things I will say is that one of the things that I think is great about this is everybody's discovering Stephen Graham Jones in the last like 4 or 5 years. And a lot of his stuff was out of print. And now it's all coming back. So those people who became fans recently are suddenly getting so much more to explore. And that's so important. And I'm just so happy. And Least of My Scars, if you ask me, is one of my favorite books of Stephen's. It's just fucked and crazy, but yeah, it's incredible. And so it's definitely on my list.
I gotta say too, this is the original edition here, dude with kind of targets over his eyes or scope hairs over his eyes. I of course I love this, but I think the new cover is even better because it features a door, and strangely enough, the door is really important in the story. And it just looks so menacing. I think this is a great reissue. So hats off to Open Road Media for bringing us so many awesome reissues of Stephen's work, because yeah, he's published for 30 years, and so much of his, especially his early work, is really hard to find. And his readers are, we want all of his work to be available to his readers.
I have a really quick thing to address from the comments really quick.
Yeah.
So Paula asks, are y'all open to reading indie published authors of supernatural and horror books, maybe quiet horror, which doesn't get much attention? I do want to say that while not all of our books are, indie published, and most of them are traditionally published, a lot of us on our social media platforms and our podcasts and where you can find us are reading independent horror authors. We're supporting indie presses like Shortwave and Bad Hand and Ghoulish,
Press.
Yes, we're reading very widely. I do think it's up to the individual to read responsibly when reading indie fiction, because it's kind of open to what you're comfortable with. There's a lot of like ebbs and flows with indie fiction. Sometimes a press will close. There seems to be a lot of different things going on with some of the indie presses. They don't always last extremely long, like because of just the times and how hard it is to manage. Nightworms used to support indie really heavily and use a lot of indie fiction in our packages, but as we grew, it became harder for indie presses to keep up with those demands and publish quality books through some of the means that they have accessible. They're accessible to. They also can't always give out arcs because it's expensive. So there's just a lot of reasons why we're not platforming a lot of indie horror today. But if you visit each one of us individually, we are all reading indie fiction very widely.
Yes. Yeah, I'd love to do like pitch in for Kickstarters, or like some indie press announces like a zine or a chant book, or I'm all about that, and I'm all into like a zine that's $30, but it's like supporting a good. I love doing stuff like that. Anytime I can like grab up something like that, I'm all about it.
Super. Yeah, very good. Thank you. Okay, Peg, you're up next.
Yeah, I would also like to say that I really love Rapture Publishing, which has just been putting out these little chapbooks, and like I love indie presses. Shortwave's probably my favorite publisher. Period at the moment. Like they are just so amazing. And Bad Hand, there's a lot of them out there though, but okay. Anyway, but I do have a shortwave title on my thing too later. But, so right now, my next one is Breathe In, Bleed Out by Brian Macaulay, which doesn't come out until September. So
and there's no cover. We don't have cover art for it, but we got a great picture of Brian. Hello, Brian.
Yeah. Anyway, so this one, I mean, it's his first novel since Curse of the Reaper, which was, I just finally read it last year. I don't know what I was waiting for, but whatever. It was fantastic, and it was probably one of my. It was on my list of favorites. It was so good. So I'm really excited that he has another novel coming out. As much as I was obsessed with speaking of shortwave, Candy Cane Kills and Candy Cane Kills Again, which were amazing. This one is a serial killer at a self-care retreat. I mean, come on. I mean, this is. I don't need to go into it any more than that. Like, I mean, I'm sold already. Plus, that's amazing. Love him. I love his writing. It's all so, you can tell he was a screenwriter because it's so cinematic. So I'm just super, super, super excited about this next one. I can't wait. I'm really happy about it.
Oh, that is the artwork for Brian's next novel. Thank you, Todd.
Yes. Speaking of indie authors, please support Todd Kiesling's work. I think one of his books is coming up here pretty soon, but we love Todd and we love his work.
That's the best.
Awesome. Thank you. Haley, you're up next.
Yeah, so also in the conversation about indies, I just realized that I have never once said the name of my favorite indie publisher out loud, and I stumbled royally trying to say it, but Tenebris Press is my favorite, and I have one of their arcs here. I have Puppets Banquet. But the next on my list is one that kind of had an international pull for me. It is Freakslaw by Jane Flett. It comes out, it came out in the UK on June 20th of last year, but it comes out April 1st from Zando here in the United States. I was so desperate to read this that I started calling my friends in the UK, asking them to buy me a copy and send it. And then I got the email from Zando saying, "Do you want a copy?" And I was like, yes. And so it takes place in a small Scottish town where the Freakslaw, which is a traveling fun fair populated by, and I'm quoting here, deviant queers, a contortionist witch, the most powerful fortune teller, and other architects of mayhem. I have a deep and enduring and probably slightly problematic love for the American Horror Story season of Freak Show, the circus one. And when I saw the byline for this one, which is "Lock up your daughters, lasso your sons," I was like, yes, I absolutely need to read this. And so I am super excited to have something that sort of calls attention to the fact that a lot of people in that like list that I just rattled off are always considered, crazy or weird or any of these things, and celebrating that rather than demeaning it. So very excited about this upcoming release from Zando.
Woohoo!
Awesome. Thank you so much. Let's see. Next up on my list is unsurprisingly, Stephen Graham Jones is The Buffalo Hunter. Now, I see quite a few of us have copies of that. Thank you. That's coming up March 18 from Saga Press. Thank you, Saga, for the arcs. We, of course, really appreciate it. And they published so many great Stephen Graham Jones books. But I think this book's going to make waves this year beyond just the horror reading community. It's about a turn of the century Lutheran pastor who hosts a local Blackfeet Indian man who appears to want to give his confession, but he spins up an incredible yarn about his life that the pastor is not sure he can really believe. But there is so much. First, there are 3 distinct voices in this. The pastor and the Indian man and another character listening to the voice of the Blackfeet man. His name is Goodstab. Is just fascinating. There's real authenticity to it, some real grit to it. If you love what Stephen did with the werewolf mythos in Mongrels, one of his most popular and enduring novels, I think he's equally inventive with vampirology in The Buffalo Hunter, though this is not a coming of age tale. It is definitely a coming of rage tale. It is brutal. It is an absolutely gutting book. There's a lot of blood and awfulness. It is not for the timid, and I think it has some important things to say to audiences today. This is a terrific book, but man, seriously, it's really a gutting book. So thrilled that folks have one of Stephen's 2 new novels that will come out this year. So yes, Sadie, over to you.
What's my next one?
You have Blood on Her Tongue next.
Yes, I am so excited about this. And if you hear us like speeding up in our book recommendations, it is because we don't want to run out of time and we want to make sure that we get through our big stack of books for you all. And this will be available as a recorded programming later. So it will be saved on the Nightworms channel. Okay, so I have Blood on Her Tongue. I have these sticky notes on them to tell me what month they're in so that I can prioritize. This one is by Joanna van Veen. It's set in the Netherlands in the 1800s. It features twins Lucy and Sarah, who are as close as sisters can be. I love a book with twins. Sarah has become obsessed with a centuries-old corpse that she discovered and is now acting very strange. To protect her from being committed at the local asylum, Lucy, who also has secrets, must solve the mystery of her twin's strange illness. Is it truly madness, or is something more sinister at work? I couldn't love this premise more. I loved the audiobook of My Darling Dreadful Thing. I believe that this author is going to be an insta-buy for me. I think I'm going to read everything they put out. And yeah, the cover is decadent and rich. And I think this definitely needs to be on your TBR, considering how amazing My Darling Dreadful Thing is. It was one of my favorite books of last year.
And if you are looking to set up your pre-order list, there is a beautiful, beautiful edition of Blood on Her Tongue coming out where the edges are sprayed with like dripping blood, which will absolutely be making it to my shelf of the pretties at some point.
And if you're a Nightworm, do not pre-order that book. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. If everybody else, though, go pre-order it immediately.
Awesome. I also loved My Darling Dreadful Thing. So freaking good. My next one is Eat the Ones You Love by Sarah Maria Griffin. Comes out April 22nd. Yes. I am really excited about this because one of the lines in the description was plants with a taste for human flesh. Now, again, cannibalism type of year for me, it feels. But the synopsis for this one is during a grocery run to her local shopping center, Shell Pine sees a help needed sign in a flower shop window. She's just left her fiance, lost her job, moved home to her parents' house. She has to make a change and bring some good into her life. So she goes inside and takes a chance. She realizes right away that flowers are just the good thing that she's been looking for, as is Nevi, the beautiful florist who wrote the sign asking for help. The thing is, Nevi needs more help than Shell could possibly imagine. An orchid growing out in the heart of the mall is watching them closely. His name is Baby, and the beautiful florist belongs to him. He's young and he's hungry. Now, this is giving me Little Shop of like horror vibes.
Yeah.
We see more. And so I'm really, really excited about this. I feel like I haven't read anything recently that is like a plant consuming someone. So I am very, very excited. It's about possession, monstrosity, and like obviously working in retail.
And that cover is gorgeous.
It is so cool.
Yes.
I immediately was harassing our like rep for this. I was like, I need.
And who doesn't need a story of a sentient orchid? I mean,
I have it on that, Kelly.
Yes.
Awesome. Rob, you're up next.
All right, guys. I know he's in the comments, so maybe he'll speak up about it. But it's Night of the Witch Hunter by Patrick Barb.
Yes.
So we did just mention shortwave a little bit ago. So I got this because I kickstarted the shortwave. They're doing
Like
quarterly.
Yeah.
So you can see the book boxes up there, and it's gorgeous. Shortwave's packaging and their presentation is just unmatched right now. So, but look at this cover. Can we just all love the retro feeling of this cover and how gorgeous it is, and the fact that it's called Night of the Witch Hunter is just really nice too. It's just got like a real retro, and that's like the whole Killer VHS series. For anybody who's not aware, Shortwave does a Killer VHS series, and it's all books with a theme of like the classic VHS kind of thing. And I'm just going to read the synopsis straight out because I don't want to try and summarize this because it's so good. And it's 1999 and I already messed it up. It's 1999 and Fallen Church, New Hampshire is ready for Y2K, but they never planned for Goodman Price. As the millennium approaches, outcast teen Josie's school video project for history class inadvertently leads to the resurrection of Price, a demonic witch hunter from the 1600s. As he unleashes his puritanical hell on earth in her small New England town, Josie must rely on her best friend, an ancestor accused of witchcraft, and the mystical powers inside herself to put an end to the Night of the Witch Hunter once and for all. You guys, this sounds like pure entertainment. It sounds fantastic, and the premise is just so weird, but like fantastic. I don't know what else to say. I'm just so excited about this book. And he also wrote a book coming out later on that's called The Nut House, and it's squirrel horror. So like this dude's unstoppable.
Squirrel horror.
Wow, squirrel horror.
I just tried to say squirrel horror fast, and it did not come out well.
But anyway, yes.
Also say for accessibility wise, all of Shortwave's titles are available on Hoopla. You can just access them for free. I have been binge reading their entire back catalog on Hoopla and then buying the physical copies for my library. Cicada from Tanya Pell is on there. It's great. Later on, favorite author of mine, C.S. Umble, has a Western trilogy coming out like in the summer, and then the sequels trilogy. So 6 books in total from C.S. Umble: horror, Western, supernatural, vampires, werewolves, love story, the whole kitchen sink. All 6 books will be available through Shortwave this year. So be on the lookout for that. Shortwave is doing amazing things, and they're all available on Hoopla eventually. Fantastic. I don't know exactly when they go up, but
and I think a lot of your public libraries may give you access to Hoopla. So definitely, if you don't have a card at your local library, check with them and see what online resources they have. That's where I get access to Hoopla. So awesome. Yeah, Shortwave doing great work. And hey, it's great to have more C.S. Umble coming our way. And I think the trilogy is it called the Peregrine Estate trilogy? Am I getting that right?
Yes. Well, yeah, that's the 3rd wave coming out. The first wave is The Massacre at Yellow Hill, and then the 2 following books after that, and that is the Light Sublime, or that Light Sublime trilogy.
That's it. Okay, awesome, very good. Thank you, Peg. I believe you are up next.
Yeah, so my next one is Angel Down by Daniel Kraus, which comes out on July 29th. So I'm a little ahead from Atria. I loved Whalefall. That is like still, it'll be one of my favorite books forever and ever. And so this one is about, it's a World War I, and these guys are fighting on the front line, and they come across a fallen angel, and this angel might be able to stop the conflict. And like that just grabbed me, because I always love anything set during either World War I, World War II. I love the movies like that, and books are fascinating to me. And he's so good with all of his like historical accuracy with everything, and all the research this man does on everything. I'm just always so excited to read his stuff. And this one I'm just really excited for.
Yes, I love Daniel Kraus. I loved Whalefall so much.
I know, me too. I mean, the amount of like work he did with the research with that even, and this one, I'm sure it's going to be just as impeccable. and I can't wait. I'm really, really excited for it.
That cover is great too.
Yes, it really is.
Super cool. Yeah, excited to see his Whale Fall getting film adaptation by Brian Duffield, I believe, who did No One Will Save You with Caitlin Dever. If I'm getting those names right.
Awesome.
Yeah, that'll be super cool to see. All right, Haley, what's your next choice?
All right, so my next one up is Their Monstrous Hearts by Yeet Toran. And so this was actually recommended to me by Emma, who is editrix Emma in the horror community, who is an editor in real life for Harlequin Intrigue. And this was one of her recommendations. The reason why I was so excited to pick this one up, you can't see it here, but the cover quote is from Dua Lipa. Like,
what?
And I saw that and I was like, okay, I need to know, first of all, why is Dua Lipa the leading blurb on this? And two, like, what is the buzz about this? And the buzz is great. I love books about authors. I find them very meta, very interesting. So this is about a character named Ricardo, who is a struggling writer who just inherited his grandmother's house in Milan and also her massive butterfly collection. And things start going wrong in the greenhouse. So I'm super excited about this. I love sort of old houses falling apart. I love books about authors, and I now apparently love books that are blurbed by famous pop stars. And I did see Megan mention this. Yes, Dua Lipa runs a book club, which I think is just fascinating, and I'm loving to see more of that influence of various people in pop culture coming out with book recommendations and things like that. So very, very excited for this one.
Very excited for that one.
Super cool. My next one is going to be another Stephen Graham Jones book, and this is a reissue. This is coming April 29 from Tor, and this is Mapping the Interior with a brilliant new cover. This is Mapping the Interior. It's a novella. It is one of my top recommendations for people wanting to explore the work of Stephen Graham Jones. It is about two Native American boys growing up in poverty. Their father died years before, and then the protagonist, 12-year-old Junior, thinks he sees his father's ghost in the house. It is a riveting tale of poverty and adolescent necromancy. It really is a real heartbreaker, and it just shows the effect of poverty on children, and really terrific book, and has a lot of the hallmarks of Stephen Graham Jones's work. I hear that the text is the same as the original reissue. Of course, it's got a new cover, and there may be another special little feature in this new edition. I can say no more. But I do love I love this cover because I think it's very representative. It's very much about their home and what's happening in their home and what's happening under their home. Really a terrific book.
Christine, to answer your question, it was Their Monstrous Hearts. Okay.
Right, thank you. Sadie, I think up next we have The Possession of Alba Diaz.
Okay. Sorry if I'm swooning, but I am so swooning. First of all, the cover with this damsel in distress look. Yes, I eat it up. I eat up everything Isabel Cañas does. I loved The Hacienda. It was my favorite book the year it came out. I loved Vampires of El Norte the year that came out. Yes. And now we have The Possession of Alba Diaz. When a demonic presence awakens deep in a Mexican silver mine, the young woman it seizes must turn to the one man she shouldn't trust. So another backstory to that is this is another historical horror from Isabel. The book takes place in the 1700s, which I love that. A plague is sweeping the land, and so Alba and her fiancé Carlos and her wealthy parents flee to his family's isolated silver mine. Alba begins suffering from strange hallucinations, sleepwalking, and violent convulsions. So I'm already picturing, like Nosferatu vibes there. Meanwhile, Carlos's cousin Elias shows up. And of course, there's going to be some kind of attraction between our leading lady and the cousin of her fiance. So for me personally, I know not all horror fans feel this way, but I love a delicious romance tucked in to my supernatural horror. Isabel knows how to balance the line between romance and horror. I trust where she goes with all of that. I trust that it's not going to be, something that I'm not into. I just show up for everything that she does in horror, and I want more of it. I have talking about a Sylvia Moreno Garcia title, coming up next after, in a bit. And it's the same thing. Like anything these women write, I show up for it. I want it gothic, I want it sexy, and I want it scary.
Nice. Very nice. Thank you so much, Sadie. Next up, Tiffany, what's next on your list?
Awesome. And I agree. I love a romance tucked into horror story. It is just delicious. Like, ooh. My next one is Polybius. Apologies if I'm butchering that title.
Is it Polybius? Or Polybius, maybe?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Thank y'all. That comes out April 29th. And it is pitched as the Stranger Things meets Walking Dead. I mean, that alone sold me.
That's good.
I love anything that is like apocalyptic. And so it's supposed to be an urban legend about a video game created by the government for psychological warfare. It's like placed in this small town and everyone starts to play this. And then the residents become angry. They become paranoid. They're having hallucinations. And it's up to these two kids to kind of figure out what's happening. And so I feel like anything that is going to kind of all consume a town, be an epidemic, is just, I'm all for. Like the world building sounds like it's going to be incredible. So I'm really excited for this one. And April 29th comes out.
Very nice. Awesome. Thank you. It seems like several people are excited about that one. Awesome. Rob, you're up next. And I think this is an especially apt selection here because the author is in the comments right now.
He's in the comments. All right. So Todd Kiesling's The Sundowners Dance, I will note, is also coming out via shortwave. And if you not the author.
Right. No more senior grab jokes.
I'm looking forward to getting it in the shortwave like quarterly boxes, but like it's not only there, like you can just order it. But anyway, it's coming out April 22nd, and Todd's already mad that he's getting bumped for Stephen Graham Jones' beautiful photo.
Sorry about that. Little slip of the finger there. Sorry.
So I'll read the quick summary. An elderly widower relocates to a retirement community and discovers his new neighbors are worshiping a meteorite. It's pitched as like Cocoon meets The Color Out of Space. Apparently, lots of grief, odd neighbors, cosmic horrors. And here's the thing. I read Coal Black and an Infinite when it came out, and I talked to Todd about that. And that dude just, I don't know where his brain finds the stuff, but like it is so fascinating. And when we were talking about Appalachian horror and how that's like, there's something like creepily otherworldly about that area of the world, and how he's like kind of building this growing universe of his own with stories tied into that. And so, dude, I'm locked in from that. Like, so the premise of some horrific thing happening in a retirement home is enough. But if you've read anything else from Todd and you realize how good he is, like, how could you not want more? So this is absolutely top of my list. Something I want to read this year. And I'm not just saying it so effusively because he's listening.
And by the way, Todd also is a book designer. So if you pick up books like Laird Barron's Not a Speck of Light, it is beautifully illustrated by Trevor Henderson and designed by Todd. So actually he has his fingerprints on quite a bit of the horror community. Yes. Awesome. Peg, up next, you have an author who I think a lot of people are also excited about.
Yes. I did want to point out that book was also on my list originally, but I wanted to make room for everybody. So, yeah, because I love Todd, and I can't wait for that one also. I'm very excited. Anyway, okay. So my next one is Vanishing Daughters by Cynthia Pelayo, who, please, this woman, her prose is incredibly gorgeous. I love everything she writes, and I'm so excited to read this one. This is more of a thriller, but it's serial killer in Chicago South Side, of course. You know, we love the Chicago. And I'm trying to, but it's all fairy tale based yet again. It's a mansion. This woman moves into a mansion and in Chicago, and something is happening, but there's also a killer. So I always love the way she can mix fairy tales with the crime fiction. And I just love how it all blends together so wonderfully. And then she writes it so beautifully, just like poetry to me. And I could read it all day, every day. And I will literally, it doesn't matter what it's about. I will read whatever that woman writes because it's just beautiful. So.
Same. I totally agree.
Thank you. Haley.
All right, so my next up is, I'm going to show up both of these, is Bat Eater and Other Names for Corazon by Kylie Lee Baker. I'm showing both of these because the cover has been redesigned. This is the new cover. This is the old cover, which is on the ARCs. So I am unbelievably excited about this one for a couple of reasons. One, this is an author that's pretty well known in the fantasy world, wrote The Scarlet Alchemist, things like that. But this is a great step into horror, and this is one that I consider to be very, very timely and very important. It comes out April 29th. The premise is that Cora, the main character, is a crime scene cleaner who witnesses the tragedy of her sister being pushed in front of a train and the murderer shouting the phrase "Bat Eater." So it is sort of a reflection on very vile, very intense anti-Asian rhetoric that was spread during the pandemic and has continued to spread. This is also, and this is a spoiler, quote unquote, is going to be the Evernight, which is the Illumicrate horror book box. This is the January pick, so there's a great special edition of this one coming out. And yes, as Tainted Crimson just said, if you order from the Preferred Indie, you can also get an art print of the original cover. But both covers are fantastic. I am obsessed with horror that feels very, very timely, very, very relevant. And I've heard that there's also a little bit of humor laced in there. So very subversive, very contemporary, is also recommended for fans of Stephen Graham Jones. And if I wasn't going to read it before, I definitely will now. So highly recommend.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And C.S. Humble is in the chat, and he wanted to clarify real quick. Let me see if I can pull this up. There we go. Amid the vastness of all else is my saga coming from Shortwave. It's 2 trilogies, the Peregrine Estate trilogy and That Light Sublime trilogy, all via Shortwave this year. And Seth, we're so excited for you. I mean, C.S. Humble, Seth Humble, is one of the most lyrical voices that we've got in horror fiction, doing the horror Western trilogy, and That Light Sublime is so exciting. And great to see you here on the thread today, Seth. My next choice, all right, Rec was it Stephen Graham Jones photos. Here we go.
You should put Todd for a minute just to make it even.
Yeah, really. Todd, send me your photo real quick. Yes, we have another book coming out from him in the summer. This is coming from Saga Press, July 15. It's actually 2 books. It's a kind of back-to-back novel. Like you flip it over, and it's one novel. Flip it back, it's another one. But it is the print edition of The Babysitter Lives, which currently is it's audiobook only, narrated by Isabella Starr LeBlanc. And I'm a physical media guy. I had to get the CDs. That's the closest I can get to a print edition. But it is coming out in print, combined with The Killer on the Road, a previously unreleased, an indie fashion novel. I can't say a lot about it. There is a killer and there is a road, but I will say that I did some research at Texas Tech University in the Sowell collection earlier back in October, and actually found a reference to like a letter that Stephen wrote to his agent, in which he described the villain of Killer on the Road as one of the most, maybe his best ever villain, who he could see having a real life even beyond this book. So I think Stephen's really excited for this one, and I absolutely am as well. And that's Killer on the Road / The Babysitter Lives, coming out July 15 from Saga Press.
I'm really excited about The Babysitter Lives because I have been recommending mapping the interior as like your gateway to Stephen's work, but I also think The Babysitter Lives would be a great gateway book to the rest of his catalog, especially if you listen to it. It kind of unlocks the way that Stephen writes. He does have a very unique, way of formulating words and phrases. And so I think if you listen to The Babysitter Lives, it will unlock everything else for you.
Yes. And it's a haunted house story. And if memory serves, he actually wrote this while he was teaching a class, an advanced fiction seminar on haunted house stories. He's by the way, he's taught a number of advanced topics. One of those included the student Parker J. Finn, who created the movie Smile and Smile 2. And Parker was one of his students. So he's not only taught some great classes, he's had some pretty impressive students. But yeah, super cool. Sadie, I think you were going to also talk about The Lamb.
I think I switched.
Oh, did you? Okay, I did not see that. Sorry.
Okay.
What did you want to talk about next?
I wanted to talk about Bochica.
Oh, sorry. I'm confused that note. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, so we
don't worry. A lot of us have The Lamb and also highly recommend it.
Yeah. So The Lamb we love. We talked about that earlier in the program. Haley did a fantastic job selling that book to us. But Bochica by Carolina Flores. I don't want to mess that up. Her last name is somebody else.
Chiaro.
Thank you. For me, this book is kind of a straightforward murder mystery thriller set in the 1920s. It has a rich cultural context at a beautiful location. It has like this house that was built for a guy built it for his wife. And then it was converted into a hotel. So we come upon this location as in its hotel form. It has a waterfall in the background, which if you go to her social media, the author's social media, you can see that it was inspired by an actual place that she has been to. It has Gothic tropes and undertones, a light romance, and some magical realism with a secret society cult element that I know is going to pique your interest because people love secret societies and cults. I recommend it for fans of supernatural historical fiction that have like a courageous female lead uncovering the truth of family secrets. It's extremely atmospheric. It has family legacy and dynamics. It deals with grief and death, and obviously a creepy mansion with a dark entity. It has pretty much everything that you would want to check off your list. For me, it was like a little bit straightforward. I just finished it. I thought that the murder mystery was a little bit straightforward, but this is a debut author, and I think that we should support debut authors as much as possible, especially, when it's got all of this cultural integrity and historical fiction and a beautiful setting. It's Gothic. We want more of that. So pre-order, put it on your bookshelf, platform it. I really thought it was an interesting book.
Awesome. Thank you, Sadie. All right, over to you, Tiffany.
Awesome. My next one is Feeders by Matthew Serafini. Comes out May 20th. It is a supernatural thriller. I really like that right now. I feel like a lot of books are showing the dark side of media. Yes, Sadie. I love that cover.
It's a great cover.
Right? Any cover that has like the drips. I need.
Yes.
So this one is about an influencer whose dreams of like online fame, and it spirals into a nightmare. There's this dangerous like social media platform called Monolife that has these really specific rules that and very dire consequences, and they reward bad behavior basically. So it explores like how far someone is willing to go to reach that height of fame. And I feel like I am seeing like a lot of books being published about like dark side of like social media and how the lengths that one will go to. And I like that we're exploring that because I mean, we're all in media. We see it. We all the things. And so it's fun to see this side of it, especially when there's a supernatural element to it.
I beta read this manuscript a couple of years ago because he was on submission for a long time for it. He's an indie author that I absolutely love. He wrote The Rites of Extinction and some other like thriller horrors. Matt Serafini is a great storyteller. This book is unhinged. It is actually going to blow your fucking mind. Like the way that he took social media and did like a Black Mirror style horror out of it, where you cannot believe what these influencers will do to get engagement on their platform, is sickening. And then the way the consequences play out will just horrify you to no end, because it's so real. It's so possible.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
Sounds like a book for our times. Thank you so much, Haley. Rob, what's up next on your list?
All right, next up for me is The Staircase in the Woods by Chuck Wendig. Has anybody read this besides me?
No.
Yes. I love that.
Like, so you know what I'm talking about. So the basic premise of the book is, as teenagers, this group of 5 friends go out into the woods to party, and they run across this random staircase in the woods, and it's just weird. They didn't remember it being there before. And at one point in the night, one of the friends goes up the staircase and vanishes. And so that's kind of like where the story kicks off. They lose their friend and all that stuff. But then like the main story takes place like 20 years later, when, decades have gone by. They've never found their friend. Their lives are all affected by the loss of this friend. And they all come back together ostensibly to celebrate their friend or whatever. And great. That premise on its own is enough for a story.
Yeah.
But Chuck does so much more with this book. And he does so much more in a way where I don't want to say what happens, because it's just so, like, you get it, right, Peg? Like, if I mentioned where most of the book lived. Wait, what's it? Oh, yeah. Favorite Wendig. Yeah. It's mind-blowing. I don't understand how he did it. I don't understand how he made it work, but it is absolutely, I've read probably a dozen Chuck Wendig books, and this top of the stack. It is fantastic. And I'm so glad I read it so far ahead. And I'm so glad that I get to talk to Chuck about it in a couple of weeks. I'm recording a podcast episode for it. So anybody who's read Chuck Wendig before and has been interested or likes his stuff, this is going to take it to a different level. That's all I'm going to say. It is so good. It's so good. And it's so personal, because it's about friendships and relationships and the things we do and how it changes everything. So it's not just this creepypasta surface level thing. It is so much more in ways that you could not anticipate. It's so good.
I got to confess, I have not read any Chuck Wendig, so it sounds like this may have to be my first.
Yes, do it.
Okay. All right. I of course know of his towering reputation as an author, but this actually sounds really exciting.
It's so good.
Awesome. Thank you, Rob. Peg, you're up next.
Well, it's very emotional. Like, I was crying when I was reading that one too, because my God, so good. Anyway, I've told him a million times. I'm like, oh my God, this book, please. Okay, well, my next one is Another Fine Mess. Yes. And you can pre-order from doylestownbookshop.com. Thank you. Anyway, this is I'm very excited. I love Lindy. I got a chance to talk to her last year, and I just love her. She is the queen. She curates the most incredible anthologies already. But then, so this one is the second to this book, which was one of my favorites from last year. Bless your heart. I loved this book. So yay. Yes. I love Wendy. She's the best.
Wow.
Yep. So this is
a popular writer right there.
Yeah. So this is a series, which I didn't realize when I read it the first time. I was like, oh my God, there was like so many questions I had. Yes, Cold Snap was amazing too. Yes. And I was like, oh no. And then I was like, wait, as soon as I finished it, she announced the series. And I was like, oh my God. So this is about the many generations of Evans women in the South, and they have a funeral parlor, and they try to keep the undead from becoming, or the dead from becoming undead, excuse me. So it's insane, it's bloody, it's disgusting, there's so much happening, but I loved the humor in it and all of these Southern sayings. So this one was one of my favorites. So then this is a continuation. So I'm very excited to see where this story goes, because, and I'm all here for all the little Southern sayings, and I just love it all. It was just wonderful, and I love her, and she just writes incredibly.
That is awesome. How many of your mothers would say actually bless your heart or bless her heart?
Yeah.
Bless his heart.
Yeah.
My mom certainly did.
My mom's German, so.
Okay, maybe not then. Okay. Awesome. Haley, you're up next.
All right, so the next one up on my list is one that I don't have a physical copy of yet, though I have been stalking the USPS tracking for it because it's apparently coming soon, is Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab, who's known for a lot of things, including The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, the Fragile Threads of Power series. But this is a vampire book across 3 different vampires across 500 years. I love vampires and I love lesbians. Those are 2 things you know about me if you're going to be my friend. And my friend, Dell, who is at Books Beyond the Binary, made these I love toxic lesbian vampires bookmarks. And so in lieu of having the book, I have this, which I will be using when I read it. And I am obsessed with vampires. I think vampires have really had a huge renaissance in the past couple of years, and at least part of that is due to my obsession with Buffy the Vampire Slayer that I talk about every single chance I get, and also because of Interview with the Vampire getting its show. But it is a really long-spanning book across, like I said, 500 years. Very dark, very sapphic, very screwed up. I love it. It's fantastic. I did also want to say, as we've been talking about, like, hey, what does it mean to like be an influencer and talk about books? 2 things. One, the UK arcs of this book, the title glows in the dark, and I have never wanted to live in the United Kingdom more than that, because I want a book that glows in the dark. And the second thing is that one of the things that I mentioned at the beginning is that I am a disabled reader, and one of the great things about becoming a book reviewer that it has given me is that buying physical books is expensive. We all know this. Everything is expensive, but like physical books are expensive, and when you are a broke adult on their own for the first time, that's really hard. And as we've seen the rise of things like ebooks, as somebody who has like neurovisual seizures and disabilities and things like that, the only way that I could have the ridiculously unhealthy reading habit that I do is that I get books sent from publishers. And so one of the things that is great about being a reviewer is better access to things like that. And so, like I said, anybody can become a reviewer, join NetGalley, all of those things. And soon you too can love toxic lesbian vampires.
Wow. That is one heck of an endorsement. Thank you, Haley, so much. Awesome. Okay, my next one is I don't have the book cover, but I've got the man himself, John Langan. Anytime a new John Langan book comes out is cause for celebration. Well, he has this summer, I don't have a date yet, it's sometime in the summer, coming from Word Horde, is his next short story collection called Lost in the Dark and Other Excursions. I'll throw that title into the chat in just one second. I know that, of course, we know John not only as one of the great horror writers of our time, but also as a horror thought leader and a community leader. He's funny as heck and just a great guy. But his novel, The Fisherman, when I hear people talk about it, it is just like the contemporary classic of cosmic horror. So many people have loved that novel, and it's really taken its place in the contemporary cosmic horror canon. His new collection, Lost in the Dark, includes stories like Breakwater, The Deep Sea Swell, Natalia, Queen of the Hungry Dogs. I cannot wait to read that one. And of course, the novella, Lost in the Dark. John says it will contain a new novelette and a new short story. It also has I have a manuscript copy, just a short, incomplete manuscript copy of this collection. And there is an entry called Errata. And I'm not sure if it's story notes or if it's a story. And that's a little bit of the space that John Langan inhabits. With him, it's kind of hard to tell because he keeps breaking down that gulf between the person and the page that they're reading. He's scary like that. But this new collection comes out this summer. Summer 2026 is his next novel. I don't have a title for it yet, but that's coming. Both of those coming from Word Horde. Ross Lockhart, who has, his name is on a lot of books, especially starting in around 2005 to 2015. You'll see his name is an editor of a lot of our favorite horror books. So very excited to have new John Langan in the pipeline. Next up, back to Sadie.
What's in my book?
I think we have up next The Bewitching.
Oh, yes, by Silvia Moreno Garcia. Silvia Moreno Garcia is a chameleon in the horror industry. She can write literally anything. And my favorite aspect of her work is the amount of research and information that goes into seamlessly her storytelling. Like, it really enhances what you're reading. My favorite audiobook experience to date is Silver Nitrate, which was about like Nazi occultists and this friendship that was, between this man and a woman, and just the amount of research and development that went into this story. It's so intricately plotted. And so I'm excited about the Bewitching. Let me tell you a little bit about it, because it does have kind of like, in classic Sylvia Moreno Garcia form, it has a very intricately plotted story. 3 women in 3 different eras encounter danger and witchcraft in this eerie multi-generational horror saga. Minerva is a graduate student focused on the history of horror literature and is researching the life of Beatrice Tremblay, an obscure author of macabre tales. Minerva grew up hearing stories about witches from her great-grandmother. Minerva learns that Beatrice Tremblay wrote a famous novel that is based on a true story, and that she studied at the same university as Minerva, where she's at right now. And she went missing under mysterious circumstances. Minerva begins to suspect that the same dark force in her great-grandmother's life and Beatrice Tremblay's is now threatening her own life. And literally nobody does historical horror like Sylvia Moreno Garcia. It's very rich. It's very in-depth. I have a copy coming, so I'm extremely jealous of Tiffany's right now. But it is coming, and I want it. I want it in my hands. So.
It just came, so yours is literally probably coming. I screamed when I got this.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys saw the McSweeney's horror author trading cards that came out just a few weeks ago. Sylvia's got a trading card. I know they look like this. Unsurprisingly, Stephen Graham Jones has one in there as well with statistics on the back. But Sylvia has one in there as well. It was really cool to see that.
They're so cool.
Very good. All right. Thank you so much. Next up, we have Tiffany, and actually, I think that you're talking about a book, and the author is on our chats right now.
Yes, The Butcher's Daughter, coming out May 6th. It is, yes. Oh my God, yes. Good. I just got mine in the mail like last month. It's at home, but the most gorgeous cover. Sadie's holding it up. It is by David Demchuk and Corinne Leigh Clark. I actually got to meet her. I went to the Hell's 100 launch for a few of their things that they were doing last year, and she had like flown in from Canada and was like so sweet. And I'm so excited about this book. The untold story of Mrs. Lovett. Anybody that knows me knows I love Sweeney Todd.
You can't beat it. Oh, it's incredible.
Yeah, I like listen to that soundtrack constantly. Yeah. I went to the Broadway show like last year, and it's just awesome. So this is like a dream come true for me to like have this story out and that this story is being put out into the world. And so yeah, it's London. It's 1887. There's all this evidence that's been collected, and there's a correspondence between this like investigative journalist and Mrs. Lovett, alleged. But I am so excited for this. Like, come on, what more do you need? Everyone needs to hear about what Mrs. Lovett was up to. We have an inkling, but we need all the details.
I also love David Demchuk. I mean, he represents our favorite neighbor Canadian authors that write horror. His book Red X was amazing. I highly recommend it. I also recommend The Bone Mother. I think that's available on Hoopla if you want to read that. He's just an extremely talented author that can emote a lot into his stories. So I'm looking forward to reading this in a sense that like it's not just going to be slasher and it's not just going to be, what we're coming to expect. I know for sure there's going to be unexpected elements of this book. Yes.
Knowing that this is a Sweeney Todd universe story, the fact that Mr. Demchuk has recipes at the back makes me very, very nervous.
Yeah, very nervous.
Thank you for that tidbit. I'm like so excited.
Incredible.
I want to be trying the recipes.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tiffany. Robb, you're up next.
All right, so this is me again doing something that's technically not horror, but I don't give a damn because Megan Abbott is one of the best writers that exists. And Megan's stories create enough tension and drama that it feels horrific anyway. And so even though like I wouldn't necessarily kind of categorize her as horror, she plays with our emotions in a way that I think is very similar. So this book, by the way, I'll just read anything Megan writes. In this book, the general idea is it's a group like there's three sisters who grew up in Detroit and were very wealthy. But as time has gone on, they have kind of fallen on hard times and are not as, they're they lost their money and their privilege and stuff, and they're on hard times. And until something called the Wheel comes along, and I'm just going to read this part of the synopsis. The Wheel offers women like themselves, middle-aged and of declining means, a way to make their own money independent of husbands or families. Quickly, however, the Wheel's success and their own addiction to it leads to greater and greater risks, and a crime so shocking it threatens to bring everything down with it. Megan Abbott turns her keen eye toward women and money in Dorado Drive, a riveting story about power, vulnerability, and how desperation draws out our most destructive impulses. If you ask me, the thing that is most effective about Megan Abbott's writing is that she doesn't need guns, she doesn't need monsters, she just takes the things that are inside all of us and pits them against, the characters' worst traits against each other, and that's all of the tension and suspense and drama that you need is just the things that are in all of us. She's fantastic. I can't gush enough about Megan Abbott, and I think everybody needs to read. It's not a read. I've got all of her books over here. She's fantastic.
Yeah, what was the book that she released maybe a couple years ago with the Ballerina sisters, The Turnout, I think? Yeah, that's one of my favorite books. Completely slipped under the radar with horror fans, but I feel like the tension was giving horror.
so much, yeah. Awesome. Beware the Woman, which came out. Holy, if you want to, this is horror.
Incredible.
I don't care what you say.
Yeah, and that was a great audiobook. I listened to the audiobook on Libby.
So yeah, Megan.
And if you're in Brooklyn, we are doing her event as well in June. So look out for that.
Super.
So cool.
Awesome. Okay, Peg, over to you.
Okay, so my next one is Artist of Blackberry Grange by Paulette Kennedy. I was obsessed with, thanks to Sadie, putting it on my radar with Devil Mrs. Davenport last year. It was so good. Love the feminine rage. This one is just a beautiful cover, first of all, very gothic, very wonderful. So this one's about a woman who learns that her great aunt Marguerite, and the other main character's name is Sadie. Hilarious. Anyway, but her great aunt Marguerite has dementia, but she's an artist and she lives in this huge mansion, and she goes to live with her, and all these crazy things start happening, and I'm just hooked, and I'm very excited for it, and it just sounds really good, and it's there's truth and delusion begin to blur. Sadie must uncover the secrets that hold Marguerite captive to her past before reality and Marguerite's life slips away entirely. Sounds amazing. So I'm very excited for this one to come out.
Yeah, and for those of you that love supporting indie authors, Paulette Kennedy is very indie, and all of her books are available on Kindle Unlimited or Amazon. You can support her that way by, I believe, Kindle Unlimited books. The author is paid by page turn. So when you read a book on there through Kindle Unlimited, every page you turn is money in the author's pocket. Not a lot, but if a ton of people are reading the book, which I know the Devil and Mrs. Davenport blew up, that is very supportive to Paulette. So
yes,
definitely put that on your list.
This one, I know the date has changed. It's coming out May 1st now.
Okay.
This one.
Greg, do you know how many books we all have left? Because we have about 15 minutes in the show.
So we are on 42 of 61. So just around 20.
Okay, so I don't know if we're going to get to all of them, but we can at least go round robin quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, absolutely. Do you want? Well, so let's just make a quick statement about each one. We're going to start with Haley. You've got one coming up, and I got the book cover right here, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so this, The Faceless Thing We Adore by Hester Steele is coming out August 5th. I am super excited. I love Page Street, the publisher. They're the ones who have done Sadie's guidebooks. And I'm obsessed with them, not just... I've loved a lot of the Page Street YA stuff, but they're reaching deep into horror. I'm just going to read the opening pitch. It's a tale as old as time. Break up with your shitty boyfriend, travel to a foreign country to find yourself, and end up in a sex-fueled commune worshipping an angry god. I didn't realize that Page Street had a horror imprint, so I read that and I was like, what? This is a YA imprint? It's not. It's a horror imprint. But I'm super excited about it. Everything I've read about it gives like Midsummer vibes, but like sex. And so I'm thrilled. I love the cover. I think it's going to be great.
I read it. You're going to love it. My editor, Alexandra Murphy, is the acquiring editor for the new imprint at Page Street. So I got to read an early copy of this, and you're going to love it. It's amazing.
Awesome. Fantastic. My next one is Nathan Ballingrud. He is the poet laureate of horror. He is an absolutely incredible voice. This is part 2 of his lunar gothic trilogy, starting with The Crypt of the Moon Spider. It's supposed to be it's supposed to be gothic. No, seriously, like this is horror. It goes full blown horror. It's got horrifying images and a lot of heart. And he's just one of the best writers that we have working today. This story does pick up with Charlie Beauchamp, who was a thug and the primary source of torment for Veronica Brinkley, the protagonist of book 1. Nathan specializes in humanizing broken, even arguably bad people, and I'm very, very excited to see this the second one come up. Don't any thing by Nathan Ballingrud, don't miss it. Sadie, you're up next. We have the Unseen.
I do want to say, too, we're currently reading Crypt of the Moon Spider in my book club and enjoying it. And it is gothic, very, very gothic, and very, very horror. Okay. The Unseen by Anya Alborn, I got to read an early manuscript of it years ago. So I'm sure it's been through lots of rounds of edits since then. But I love the cover. I love Anya. I will show up for anything Anya writes. Anya is secret since you're here, writing the introduction to my new book that's coming out. So I absolutely love her. I've had a long-standing relationship with her since like 2015. She's one of my favorite authors. This book in particular is about, I can just sum it up right now by telling you, a creepy kid shows up on these people's property. It's a family with like 5 kids. They adopt this child into their life to find out what's going on, who it belongs to, what's happening with this creepy child. And it creates so much tension in the family you would not believe. The anxiety is like you just feel the anxious tension the entire way through. If you love a good creepy child book, horror, Anya style, this is for you.
Awesome. Thank you. Up next, Tiffany. We don't have the book. We don't have a book cover.
There's no cover yet, but it's Playing Nice by Rachel Harrison. I love all of Rachel's books. For me, they always hit home because they're often about exploring friendship or just like a certain like age and all the trials and tribulations that you go through that comes with that. This one is a possessed house novel. I love anything possession. And so this is a woman confronting her demons. She returns to her childhood home after her mom passed. And her mom had always stated that this house was possessed. But the other kids didn't necessarily believe that. But as this character returns home, she very much starts to see that maybe there was some sinister, ugly truth to what her mother was saying. And this comes out September 9th.
Woo!
Super. Awesome. Thank you. Robb, you're up next. Also, we don't have the book cover yet. I think we're going to have it within the next few days, probably. But we have Almakatsu.
Fingers crossed. So, yeah, because I'm so excited about anytime Alma. All right. So Almakatsu is known for a couple of things now. She writes historical horror, but she also writes her spy novels and stuff. But this is actually a turn that doesn't go in either direction specifically because it's contemporary horror. And so she's excited to see, I was messaging with her recently, she's excited to see what people think about a not historical horror from her. And me too. And Jill, let's just say right now, Alma's fantastic, and every book she writes is amazing.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rob.
The specific story is basically it's a super wealthy family, prominent for generations, but the key to their success isn't necessarily, terrestrial or whatever. There's something that they are accessing to keep them successful, and the protagonist is a woman in the family named Maris, and usually it's like the men of the family who take over the family generation after generation, but she's got ambitions to be the head of the family, but is taking over the family, and the consequences that you may not know about but you discover, is it really going to be worth it? And so it sounds interesting. It's giving me kind of the House of Usher TV series thing recently kind of vibes, and I loved that. So I'm ready for more of that, and Alma can't miss. So I am definitely excited about Fiend.
She pitched it as Succession, but horror.
Oh, I'll take it.
Yeah, that's how she pitched. She pitched
yeah,
it.
I love Alma's books.
Awesome. Thank you. Peg, you are up next with a book that I think is going to be near and dear to all of our hearts.
Yes, I picked Sadie's book, Feral and Hysterical, Mother Horror's Ultimate Reading Guide to Dark and Disturbing Fiction by Women. Come on. I mean, who didn't love your book last year or 2 years ago? Oh my God. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. I have no idea what year it is. 101. Yes. My copy is somewhere in here. I don't know where.
It's over there somewhere.
Horror books 3 for you. Yep. Yeah. I loved that book so much, and I'm just so excited to see what you have coming next, because I love that it's all women, because women are killing it right now, and I love it, and that's it. I'm just excited. I can't wait.
Just for being here, I will give you guys like some secret information about this book. So I did curate it all by reading list. It's not a definitive list of books that you should read. It's definitely curated by reading list and mood. There are essayists for this, just like there was for 101. So those essayists are Alma Katsu, who we just talked about, and Laura Purcell writing about Gothic fiction, Christina Henry writing about retellings and fairy tales, Alexis Henderson, who you all know and love, writing about patriarchy, and we have Ray Wild, who has a new book coming out called I Can Fix Her, and she wrote about lesbian and queer horror and just feminist horror. It's just, all the essays blew my mind. So it's very exciting.
Nice. That's awesome.
I'm so excited.
And the design of your books it's just so cool. It's so much fun just to flip through it and look at it.
Yeah, it's fully illustrated. There will be full illustrations by my artist, Maria Alma, who did an amazing job with the cover. And she's from Argentina. Very amazing.
Super cool. All right, next up, Haley.
All right, so the cover for this one literally just got released last week. This is Moonflow by Bitter Corella, and if you recognize that name, it's because he runs Midnight Pals, which is the best former Twitter account, and now on Blue Sky, where some of the greatest, best in horror and also the worst talk to each other. Fantastic. Love that. It is my dream, even though I don't write books, to one day be featured on Midnight Pals. I don't know why it would happen, but like now that's a dream. And so this is Bitter's debut horror novel, described as a gloriously queer and irreverent psychedelic trip into the heart of an eldritch wood and the horrors of sisterhood. I love queer horror. Sadie just mentioned Ray Wild is another great voice in queer horror, and I am obsessed with this idea of like transcending, let's be honest, a lot of horror has been a boys club for far too long. We know this. It's been a boys club. It's been a white club. It's been a very heteronormative club. And I am thrilled to see a breaking out of that. This, by the way, is coming out from Hachette, the new horror imprint from Orbit, which is called Run For It, because yes, horror is, it comes in waves, but like horror imprints are still being founded at big 5 publishers, which is super, super exciting. And this is definitely one of the headline titles for me from Run For It. And this comes out September 2nd.
Very nice.
Vigorously writing this down.
My next choice is going to be Gemma Files' new story collection called Little Horn. This will include, this is coming out October 14 from Shortwave Publishing. It will include some classic, fairly recent stories like this Sanguintalist, which showed up in Dark Stars, John F.D. Taft's super awesome anthology. It also Wet Red Grin, which is a completely sick story, and really enjoyed that. And the title story, Little Horn. Gemma says of the collection, there's a fair amount of angry, bloody female political stuff in it. I asked her who is the ideal reader for this collection, and she says anyone interested in trans necromancers or Indonesian flying head vampires. Anyone who thinks all little girls are witches or want to become witches, and anyone who's afraid of podcasts or choirs. That's a lot of us. That's getting a lot of us. That's a pretty broad demographic.
I love it.
Make sure to pre-order Little Horn Stories by Gemma Files.
Love it.
Sadie, back to you. I think I got the cover here. Hold on, and it is.
The Ghost Woods. Yeah, so the Ghost Woods, it was previously released in the UK, but is now coming here to the States. This is the US cover. I had, the UK edition. And it is a good companion story if you are reading Grady Hendrix' book right now, Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. This is a similar premise in that it is about women who were shipped out from their homes because they're having a crisis pregnancy. So they all live together in this it's called the Lichen Manor, and they're all out in the woods, and there's something creepy and ghosty and mushroomy going on in there. They're seeing things in the hallways. The woman who is in charge of their lives in this manor is weird. Like, it's just a very good gothic feminist story. I think you guys would enjoy.
Awesome. Thank you. Tiffany, you're up next.
One that I am most excited to talk about. I read this yesterday in one sitting, y'all.
Wow.
Yes, Sadie. Yes. Yes.
Woo!
Yes.
Nice. It's making the rounds. Good.
It is. I got to meet her a few months ago. Her publisher had her on tour here doing a few little events. And through my job, I got to go meet her, and I was starstruck, y'all, because if you don't know her, she's written Tender as the Flesh, 19 Claws and the Blackbird, and now The Unworthy. And oh my God, it's a fever dream. I mean, it's literary horror, woman cloistered in a secretive, violent religious order, and the outside world is chaos. And the first 60 pages, you're getting the fill of how this space is in the religious order, and then the other half of the book, you're getting this romance story. And I didn't expect that at all. And like Sadie said, I also love that romance sprinkled into my horror. I think it's so nice, and it's devastating. It's beautiful. It's terrifying. I mean, it's incredible. And it's so short. I read it in 2 hours yesterday. I was I need to the end now.
Very nice. I like a nice short read. I like a good short novel.
Yeah. And this comes out March 4th.
Super. Awesome. Thank you. Robb, I know we don't have the cover art for this, but we do have this handsome as heck photo of John Horner Jacobs. What's your pick here?
All right, so this book is called The Night That Finds Us All by John Horner Jacobs. John Horner Jacobs, I've been a fan of forever. He wrote This Dark Earth and Southern Gods, and Murder Ballads was a big one. And anyway, so this one is a dark nautical journey into cosmic horror following a troubled sailboat captain who joins a crew to deliver a 100-year-old yacht from Seattle to England, challenging her already tenuous grip on sanity. Boat horror.
Yeah.
And John Horner Jacobs is fantastic. So very excited for this one.
Yeah.
Super cool. That's awesome. So now we have choir horror and boat horror. I like that a lot.
By the way, my last one is one Greg already talked about, so I'm done.
Good.
Well, cool. Yeah, and actually, I was going to talk about the Fiend as well. So I think that's taken care of. Next, we have Peg.
Okay, so my next one is The Nightbirds by Christopher Golden, and I'm very excited about this one because you've got I love him. And when you throw in a Coven of Witches, a sunken ship, come on. I mean,
I know what.
I need to go into it anymore. I mean, it just sounds so cool. I love it.
It's a great cover.
I love him, and I'm very excited to read this one because, I mean, All Hallows is will probably forever be one of my favorite books. I love that book so much, and I'm really excited to read this one.
Awesome. Thank you.
Marguerite, if you need to run off, like, go for it. Was that your last one?
No, it's fine. I can do one more round, and then I'll do it.
Yeah, and we got after this, we'll have one round left, and we'll be done. Haley, go ahead.
By the way, I'm loving how we're all like speeding this up. I feel very much like I'm on a runaway train, and I wouldn't like to be on a runaway train with anybody but
With
y'all.
anyone.
So my next pick is The Mean Ones by Tatiana Shloti-Benet, who I absolutely loved. She broke out onto the scene with Such Lovely Skin, the YA, very creepy techno horror. And this is a release coming from, I believe, Creature Publishing, who is a publisher who I'm absolutely loving. All of their spines on their books have like actual like bone human spines, not like actual, but like printed on there, which I just think is a great touch. So this is about a girl named Sadie who is 29 and 17 years ago witnessed her best friends get slaughtered while she was hiding under the bed, and is now starting to hear talking dead animals and a strange but comforting male voice in her head. And MK just said that the title text on this is giving I Saw the TV Glow. I would just like to say that I have an I Saw the TV Glow tattoo.
Whoa.
So I am obsessed with that comparison, and I know that Tatiana would love that as well. So I'm very excited for this. It is coming out sometime, I believe, September 30th, 2025.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Haley. My pick is Fiend by Alma Katsu. We've already talked about that. So we can go ahead and skip on to back to Sadie. And this for our last round here, you chose Leon Zong book.
Yes, and this is Julie Chan is Dead, which is another social media influencer horror. I was reading the synopsis this morning and falling in love with just like the premise. So basically, these twins are separated at birth. One twin is a grocery store clerk. The other twin is a very popular social media influencer. She mysteriously dies, and the other twin meets her. Oh, actually, I did that in reverse. So they meet because the one twin who's an influencer has this video that she makes. It's like the funniest title for a video. It's called Finding My Long Lost Twin and Buying Her a House, #emotional. So she buys her twin a house. Then she mysteriously dies. Then she has to enter this world of social media influencers and infiltrate it, and realizes that something really nefarious happened to her twin sister, and something really bad is going to happen to her too. It's giving me like the Patricia Wants to Cuddle kind of vibes, where it seems like probably it's a little bit campy and funny, but also disturbing and, Black Mirror ish. So I definitely want to read this author's voice. This is the new debut author, I believe.
Awesome. Thank you, Sadie. All right, Tiffany, last entry here for you.
Awesome. So Myra by Nikki Gonzalez. This hadn't been on my radar, and I saw it here at work, and I was like, ooh, what is that? Oh, yes. And this is by Nikki Gonzalez, coming out July 22nd. And it's a twisty Gothic debut. Again, I feel like this year, like everything Gothic, I'm just like eating it up. It is really, it's soothing the soul. And it's a debut about two women who share an intense toxic friendship as children, and then they reconnect at this secluded house that's in the swamplands of Florida. I also love just like a secluded house setting where everything starts to go awry. It's been years since the two friends have seen each other. And so when they do start to reconnect, one friend starts noticing that there's something like disturbingly wrong with the other friend. And so it feels like it's going to be an unhinged wild ride, and I'm all for it.
Yes. Welcome to Gothic era, ladies.
Yes, I'm loving.
Awesome. So thank you so much, Tiffany. That was terrific. Rob, yes, you had mentioned Cathedral of the Drowned as well by Nathan Ballingwood. Be sure to check that out. Peg, we don't have the book cover art, but we do have this lovely picture of Laurel Hightower. Tell us what you had in mind. What book are we talking about?
So Laurel has a book coming out in November from Shortwave, and it's another of the Killer VHS. So I'm super just stoked that she's doing a Killer VHS. us. It's called The Long Low Whistle, and it's about a woman whose father goes missing, and she hires cryptid hunters to go help her find her father, which sounds really crazy, and I'm here for it because cryptid hunters, come on, it's fun. And so I think it's going to be a good one. And I mean, none of them have been bad. None of the Killer VHS books were bad. They're all great, and I love them. So I'm super excited for that one too.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And again, don't have the book cover art, but we do have this picture of Jenny. Is it Kiefer?
I'm choosing to believe it's like Kiefer Sutherland.
Yes.
Okay, so the book is Crafting for Sinners by Jenny Kiefer. So first of all, I loved Jenny Kiefer's debut novel, This Wretched Valley. First of all, I'm never going into the mountains again. Like, absolutely. I wasn't really planning on it to begin with. Let's be honest. I don't really go outside, but like really, really, I'm not doing it ever again. But Crafting for Sinners, I think actually might somehow be even better. So currently it's scheduled to come out October 7th. And I'm just going to read you the pitch, and you're going to know exactly what it's a reference to, but we're all going to avoid copyright and like libel claims. So we're going to walk around it. Okay. A queer woman must fight her way out of a big box craft store run by a diabolical religious cult in a gripping survival horror novel.
Okay.
We don't need to know what big box horror store that's about. But there was actually an entry in the Book of Queer Saints, edited by Mae Murray from Medusa House, that also explored this idea of like craft stores run by religious extremists. Because, sometimes the best horror is the stuff that's really not too far from reality. I am a massive, massive fan of Jenny Kiefer. I also want to plug that she helps, she's one of the lead people who runs Butcher Cabin Books in Kentucky. So if you are ever in Kentucky, go there. Like, of anywhere, you're going there. So I'm a huge fan of Jenny Kiefer and very, very happy to have that one as the last one on my list.
I'm so excited for that book. I loved the last one, and she's awesome. I love her.
Awesome. And the final selection for me is The Autumn Springs Retirement Home Massacre by Philip Fracassi. This is Philip's, again, you know his books, Boys in the Valley, A Child Alone with Strangers, Serafina just came out. His short story Alter is getting the A24 treatment. It's actually, I think they just finished filming a few weeks ago. So I think a lot of folks are going to get on the Philip Fracassi wagon very soon. This book is, a slasher set in a retirement home. Philip told me that his protagonist, Rose Dubois, is the best character he's ever written. He also said that this is a very personal book to him because during the writing this book, he lost both of his parents. And if you follow him on socials, you saw that, you were aware of that happening in his life. But it's for a slasher novel, boy, it seems like it really hits home to him personally. And again, he just brings so much heart to his work. And I think this was going to be a really enjoyable book. He's having a really great, his career is really exploding, not just with film, that film adaptation. He's got a number of other stories that are in some stage of production, but having 2 novels come out this year, and he just released Serafina a few weeks ago. This is a great time in the career of a guy who's really put in a lot of hard work, and he's one of the most accessible writers to his reading community. And he is like John, I think about John Langan as well, like the most unassuming guy. Really, really love Philip a lot. So, guys, I think we have gotten through an amazing 60 different books. Amazing, great job, everybody. I think it'd be great if I don't know, Sadie, if you have anything you want to say to wrap up. I would love to just go around the group personally for just like one last round and say, as an influencer, a horror enthusiast, what's one thing you love to do that's to support your favorite authors? Sadie, would you want to start with that?
Yeah. So, thanks to everyone who came out for this. I think this was a really healthy way to be distracted. I think horror is a very healthy way to be distracted all year long and for the next, on and on. And I just want to say that, like, for me personally, the best way is just word of mouth and just platforming. Even if you don't have the time to read all of these books, just showing them on social media and talking about them is a great way for others to see it and to understand, what's coming out. It doesn't all have to be 2025. I think reading people's backlist is very important. So, just read what you can, read what you want, showcase, platform, talk about it. Word of mouth is the greatest form of advertising.
Absolutely. Thank you. Tiffany.
I'm going to say definitely word of mouth, because that is the best way to spread things. If you go into your local indie shop and you don't see a horror book or whatever book that you are like a fan of, ask the booksellers to order it for you, because like that could be its gateway into that store. And if it sells, they'll reorder it. And so sometimes, the people working in the store don't always like know the things that we like know, or, just don't hear about it until someone brings it to their attention. And then who knows, a whole section. This store used to not have a horror section prior to a previous employee. And then now it does. So yeah, just do it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tiffany, so much. Rob.
Of course, I'm just going to say other stuff. I agree with the stuff that's been said so far. So I'm just going to add my little facet of it, which is anytime I get a book as a review copy for free, I do my best to actually buy it, either pre-order it or buy it on launch day as well. Not just because like I want to promote it, I want to talk about it, I want to encourage people to pre-order, but I also want to be a part of that that process of the sales. So like, just because I got it for free, I don't feel like it's a duty, but I feel like it's a great idea to also be a part of that aspect of the success of a launch as well.
Awesome. Thank you. Peg.
I agree with everything, especially with Tiff. Like I as a bookseller, I'm always pushing, especially my favorite books. I'm always like, wait, what are you looking at? What are you looking at? Let me show you this. But I mean, on social media, like if you get a book, show it, tag the author, only if it's good, obviously, only if you are saying something nice about it. Don't tag if you're not. But like tag the author, let them see that where it's going and how many hands it's in and how many people can see it then. It's really, I think it's super helpful for them. And always, try and pre-order when you can if you want to buy it. If not, like go to your library, or like Tiff said, you can always either go into your store. If we don't have it, just order it, because if you order it for yourself, we'll always end up getting another copy for the store because it sounds interesting or whatever, So there's a lot you can do, really.
And thank you, doylestownbookshop.com, for loaning us Peg for a couple of hours. Really super appreciate it. Haley.
Yeah, so I think, again, everything that has been said, but something that I also, considering not just supporting authors, but supporting the book industry in general, is becoming as much aware as you can of book bans and restrictions that are being placed on schools and libraries and things like that. I highly recommend checking out somebody named Kelly Jensen on TikTok and on Blue Sky, who is a former librarian and an anti-censorship advocate, who talks about, it's not just, buy banned books, read banned books, or whatever. It's get involved, go to those school board meetings, things like that. As somebody who is not only like a queer, I keep wanting to call myself a queer youth. I'm 26. I don't know what I'm doing. But somebody who spends all of my time working with queer youth. I run an LGBTQ resource center. Not just knowing where the books are, but knowing that the books see people and represent people in so many authentic ways. And horror has always been on the leading lines of that, of making sure that we are reflecting the people who need it the most, but making sure that you are involved, not just in buying the books, but in talking about them, and knowing that, yeah, you can still buy it at Barnes & Noble, but you can't get it in a school library. It's those school libraries where those books need to be seen the most. It's those places where people are getting books for free that need to be seen the most. And know that you have, no matter if you are an influencer, an author, just somebody who likes to read, you have a voice in making sure that other people get to discover the same love for reading that you do. And as somebody who fell back in love with reading in my 20s, I have been so grateful for the fact that there's never been a book that I wanted to read that I couldn't get access to. And that wasn't true when I was in high school. And it's not true for the high schoolers that I get to work with. And so making sure that we support authors and readers and the next generation of readers is so unbelievably important.
Thank you. Awesome points. I'll wrap up by saying, well, first of all, I dropped a link in the comments to Emily C. Hughes' Read Jump Scare's list of like all the 2025 horror publications. It's an enormous list, amazing resource there. So make use of that. That's in the comments. I'll say that I guess, you know, my thought for those who want to proliferate horror fiction and support these authors, support these publishers, support the bookstores that will stock their books on the shelves, is to help. Like, the horror community is the best community on socials. Let's make it the best, the warmest, most inviting, most willing to listen, slow to respond, consider and ponder what people are saying, and then respond to it. It's like, you know, I mentioned that I love giving blood at the Red Cross. You know what my blood type is? It's B positive, no lie, and that's my slogan. Let's try to be positive and create the best, warmest community in all of social media land. Like, it's like Joe Hill says, horror is not about extreme sadism; it's about extreme empathy. Horror is an empathy building tool, and I think that by creating a warm, inviting, and positive community, we can help convince people, like, hey, this is a space I want to explore more, and explore these authors whose work we love and that we want to champion. And with that, let me see. I think that's about it. Remember, nightworms.com, great place to go and you know, look at the book packages that they do that are so cool. Sadie, thanks for helping organize this and arrange this.
Yeah, I know it was last minute, but damn, we pulled it together, didn't we?
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
Thank you guys for joining me. Thank you for hanging out. Rob and Greg, especially, thank you for organizing it, doing the spreadsheet, and helping out. Thank you to everybody who showed up. I hope we can do this again soon.
That'd be great. Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Thank you.